All right, welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you are back for part 2 of our epic Long Live Rock and Roll adventure with the panel of G.I. Joe judges. We've got Jasmine, Santi, Lily Bella, Nadia, and Troy Smith out here for our G.I. Joe panel. The kids, say hello, everybody.
Hi!
Yo, Joe, and yo, Joe to all of you. Now, if you guys didn't listen to last episode, you need to stop what you're doing and go back and rewind and put on part 1 of Long Live Rock and Roll, because we got some great commentary from the kids here. And you know one thing I think we didn't do? I think we didn't get your ages last episode. I don't know why I'm just thinking of that now. So let's go around the table. Nadia, how old are you?
I'm 11.
11. Lily Bella, how old are you?
9.
Santi, how old are you?
I'm 10.
And Jasmine?
6.5.
16 years old?
No,
You're so tiny for being 16.
6.5.
6.5. Okay, I get it.
There's a big difference between 6 and 6.5.
There's a huge difference between 6 and 6.5. If I was better on math, I would say something like that's like 1/6 of your life or something like that. How do you feel about being 6.5? You okay about it?
Yeah.
When's your birthday? March 27th?
27.
I was gonna say March 28th, but then I took a closer look and I felt 27th's the right day. Felt 27th's the right day. So now that I won a prize, I think you don't win the G.I. Joe prize at the carnival. Troy?
Yes, sir.
You are, one, you're delightful. You raised these kids right.
Thank you.
And for you listeners at home, the girls are Troy's daughters and Santi is his nephew. And we had a great time last episode. I think you guys were so fantastic with your commentary. We got to meet Muscles, who is Nadia. You are the G.I. Joe tanker for the Ninja Force. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And we also met our pilot, Call the Ball, who is Santi. And you were the ex-soccer player who is now a pilot for G.I. Joe.
Yep.
It's pretty exciting. How has this new job that you guys both undertaken, how has this affected your lives?
I don't know. It's fun.
It's fun. Okay, I'm just kidding, because we finished recording about 20 minutes ago, so we're back to it. So hopefully it hasn't changed your life too much, but you never know down the road. And Troy, you're gonna give us your file name today. Lily Bella, you're gonna give us your file name today. Jasmine, you're gonna give us your file name. Are you guys excited for that?
Yeah.
You excited? So we got some new Joes on the table here. We got Big Boa, the boxer. We got Cobra Commander. We've got Airborne Volume 2. What else we got over here? We've got a Skyhawk. Yeah, it's the Sky Patrol Skyhawk. Now this is part of the big buy that you had, Troy.
Actually, the Skyhawk and Sky Patrol came from a friend at work.
What?
Yes, they know who I am. They know how much I love G.I. Joe. And he kept telling me, he's like, I have a box of G.I. Joes. And I was teasing him and saying, yeah, we'll just send it over to my house. And eventually he brought it in and gave it to me.
That's so great. People are awesome.
Yes.
I've gotten that a few times over the years with doing the show, where people are just like, hey, I've got all this great G.I. Joe stuff. You know what? I'm not going to do anything with it. And they're just so generous. And so it's such a lovely thing. And I love to pass that on.
And they know that it's going to get used and it's going to get loved.
Yes.
I think that's what...
Well, let's talk about your work for a little bit.
Okay.
You are you're a television colorist, so you do like color correction for TV shows, right?
That's correct.
And you've been doing that for almost 20 years now.
That's correct.
And what's the company? Let's give them a shout out.
It's Margarita Mix in Hollywood.
Margarita Mix, right in the heart of Hollywood, California.
Yes.
And any shows you could tell us that you worked on specifically?
I can tell you some shows I've worked on in the past.
Yeah.
Sure. So Top Gear USA
Love it.
was one that I worked on. Biggest Loser is one that I worked on.
Love it.
Back in the day, 24, I used to do dirt restoration on it when they shot in film. So
Really?
That was a fun one I worked on.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of unscripted shows that I work on.
24 was a great show.
It was.
It was really great. It quickly got into that preposterous area of like, really, these people are going to get kidnapped, and you know all that stuff's going to happen every week. But I didn't care.
Yeah.
It was just so well done.
We would always tease the producers like, okay, when's the episode when Jack Bauer gets stuck in traffic for an hour?
Yeah, right? Especially in LA.
LA,
I feel like 24 existed in the same universe as the movie Speed, that a bus could drive at 60 miles an hour in LA.
Right.
No, the wrong city for that. You need to set speed in like Topeka.
Yes.
Like we need to drive around the flat lands of Topeka at 60 miles an hour, and then you can make it okay. That's really cool. What do you enjoy about being working in the TV field? Have you always been a colorist, or did you start in like editing, or like what?
Exactly. I started as an online editor. So the online editor is kind of like the finishing editor. So I don't make any of the actual decisions and choices. I'm the guy who like puts everything together to get it ready for air.
So you're like the finishing carpenter.
Exactly.
Like you come in and sand off the rough edges,
Right.
and make sure everything just looks smooth.
Right. Yes. And now I moved into color grading. Color grading is basically matching shots on the cameras. If it's a multi-camera shot or show, we want to make sure that all the cameras look balanced, that they look the same, like it's from one camera. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do things that we have to put a special look. So maybe something needs to have like a desert look to it, or be a really cool environment where everything's really blue and subdued, or we need lots of saturation to make it pop.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
That's so great, and it is such a subtle influence on all the things that we watch. James Cameron loves him a blue filter, and it gives his movies this modern, and you look at the stuff he did, Terminator and like Aliens, and there was always this futuristic look to it, and the sharpness, this crispness to it that came from the blue filter, but you don't realize that
Right.
until you think about it.
Right.
But it's just such a subtle shift in what we're seeing. Recently, they did, I know they did color correction on the Superman suit in the movie Justice League.
Okay.
To make his suit bluer.
Probably.
And just that bluer, that more like royal blue instead of the darker blue that he
Right.
was in Man of Steel. I think it was the same suit he was wearing. It made people like him better because he looked, you know what I mean? He looked more traditional Superman. And that's such an important job that you guys are doing. You're scoring, you're doing the soundtrack, you're doing the visual soundtrack for the movie.
Yes.
Is what you're doing, because the
That's-
scoring should be in the background and it sets the mood, and you're doing that for the eyes.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it that way, but that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as like, it's easy to see a bad editor or a bad colorist. So hard to see a good one
Sure.
because they do their job.
Yep.
You don't see jump cuts and you don't see mix match shots.
Now, have you ever run into a situation where, so you in your days as the finishing editor, where they've made their creative choices and they've got this shot to that shot to that shot, and you're watching it and you realize, I don't know, this guy's wearing a hat in this shot, but he's not wearing a hat in that shot. Were you in a position to say, hey, you guys screwed this up? Or, and it could be maybe it's supposed to be reversed and the car's going in the wrong direction, that
Right.
kind of thing.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they rely on us also to be like their second set of eyes, because they've been looking at the material forever for a long time, and they just kind of, it goes over top of they're used to seeing it, so it's like, yeah, of course that's the way it is.
And they're receptive to it?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, I was a colorist on this show, but the online editor I was working with for a show, there was just this nice, beautiful over helicopter shot of this waterfall going through this house, and it was so cool, and everybody was loving it. And then the editor is like, hey, that shot's reversed, and the water's going up instead of down. And I'm like, thank you so much. So we'll flip it back around and do it in real time instead of a reverse motion.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so they catch. We are important to catch those types of things. Blurring microphones. Blurring. No, sorry, just kidding. Just distracted. Blurring license plates
Oh, yeah.
is a big thing that we do, and lots of times logos.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes I'll be walking around and I'll see people wearing logos. And like, oh, I got to blur that. And like, oh no, I'm in real life, not on my job.
You have one of
It's
those.
confusing.
You have one of those. It was in Black Mirror. I forget what episode, but it was the one where they had the implant in their head that I could block you
Oh, yes.
in real life.
I
So I'd
remember
look
that
and see your kid's face is perfectly clear, but if I look at Troy, your face is totally blurred.
Right.
Yeah. That's very cool, man. And you got your start in an era. It was in like late 90s, early 2000s, where I guess you were using computers, but not a ton, right? It was old school editing,
No,
or
it was in college, and
Yeah.
it was the first year that we got an Avid Symphony. Or that wasn't Avid Symphony, but it was an Avid product. So that was non-linear. And I used to do a lot of stuff at the studio. So the college that I went to, DePaul University, they had this beautiful sound stage, and they had blue screens. And I ended up taking all my toys to school. By the time I graduated, I had all my G.I. Joes there.
in college.
In college.
In college.
A lot of my Legos, and
Love
I
it.
made these movies with G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
And it was like so much fun. And I was like, you know, I got to do this for real. I got to do this in real life.
So G.I. Joe inspired you to your career today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool. And we can actually watch one. You showed me one. I loved it.
Yes.
You have a video. It's on YouTube. And listeners, I'll share the link out with this episode. Find me on Twitter. If you go to Joe on Joe Pod, it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Send me an email at joeandjoepod@gmail.com and follow the show. And you will see the link that Troy has. It's called G.I. Joe The Rescue, and search Troy Smith G.I. Joe The Rescue, and you guys will see it. And this was made in late 90s.
Yes, 98.
98, and you really artfully incorporated elements of the cartoon plus live action plus some toy stuff, right? Wasn't there some toy overlay onto it?
Absolutely.
So you put your live action, you and your buddy as humans inside of the Mauler.
A Sky Striker.
Was it Sky Striker?
At the very end,
Who was
yes.
in the Mauler? Oh, those were toys.
Those were toys,
Those
yes.
were toys. But it was the cartoon Mauler, though, right? Wasn't it a picture of the cartoon Mauler?
No, it was
There was
actual
cartoon
toy.
explosions, though.
Exactly. So what I was doing, I was looking for cartoon on the animation for the backgrounds. So I was trying to find some parts where they were looping, and then there was this overhead shot in the cartoon looking down in the jungle as the guys are driving through. And basically what I did is I put my toys over top of where the animated toys were, covering them up.
Wow.
And went on the blue screen. And so then I could just shoot it so it looked like they were driving in the cartoon.
And so you did all this analog.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a blue screen in the studio, and it was a whole control room, and I had really good cameras to work with.
Yeah,
at
it
the
looks
time.
great. Like I was telling you, when we first came out here to your lovely home, Toilet Teals, by the way, she's in the house with me. Rebecca, say what's up.
What's up?
So when we first came out here and we met you at the door, because I saw the movie and I enjoyed it, and I thought, oh, he must have made this in the last couple of years. I thought you would be a much younger man. Not that you're old, but that's how good the movie is, because it looks as if you made it on a computer, like with digital effects and things like that we can do today. But knowing that you put it together analog back in the day is an even bigger feat. I'm not surprised that you went on to have a 20-year career doing this in Hollywood.
Thank you.
It's really real testament to your skills. It's absolutely fabulous. So we're going to share that out there, listeners, and you guys are going to love it. Also, right before we started taping, your children ratted you out, I believe, and they said that you also did a recreation of the Chips
Yes.
introduction out of Legos.
That's right.
What was that?
You know, that's part of the reason I wanted to come to California.
Because you love chips?
I love chips.
Ponch and John.
That's right. So
So in 98, 99, you recreated with Legos.
the intro to Chips. I
Oh.
just love that theme song. And I didn't even do that for a class. I did that just because I wanted to.
It's so great.
So I built all the Legos, same type of thing. I built backgrounds and layered them with green screen and blue screen, and just put it all together. I literally watched the introduction frame by frame. I timed out, okay, this shot is 17 frames.
Wow.
This shot is 48 frames. And
Wow.
I just did everything back to back to back.
Analog.
Analog.
That is so awesome to me. Like
Thank
that
you.
is an absolute dedication.
And when I got to one of my first jobs in Hollywood, I was talking to one of the tape ops that I was working with, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Eric Estrada is my brother-in-law."
What?
I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, Eric Estrada is my brother-in-law." And he's like, "I gotta make a copy of this and give it to him."
Did he?
Yes, he did.
And have you met? Did you then meet Eric
I
Estrada?
didn't get to meet him, but
Did you hear feedback?
yes, he did. He said, "Nice video," and he gave me a picture, an autograph.
I love that.
It was so cool.
Have you met Larry Wilcox?
No, I have not.
I love it. And is your Chips video also on YouTube?
It is also on YouTube.
We're going to share that, and we're going to love it. I was a Chips fan growing up, too. It was absolutely great. And now every time I do see a California Highway Patrolman, I just think, I mean, that was such great advertising for them.
And the music was fantastic. I love the music.
Do you remember how the theme song went?
Do 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 do. I don't want to keep going
That's
on.
great. I love it. Do kids? Do you watch? Does your dad watch Chips with you now, or is that a thing?
No.
No, just GI Joe.
Just G.I. Joe.
Good. I don't know that Chips holds up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there. I don't know if that's stepping on your toes,
See the
Troy.
new movie?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. Did you see the
I
movie?
saw the
Was
new
it
movie.
any good?
It was. It's not Chips.
It's
from
not
the, from
Chips,
the.
yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like it was funny. It had its moments, but I mean, like all the
Like they
just,
wanted to do what 21 Jump Street did, but
Yeah.
it just couldn't capture it.
You know what the beauty of Chips is, and it just shows a different era. But John and Ponch never drew their weapons.
No, yeah,
Never.
no.
And I think that this is kind of different.
Yes. Joe and Joe listeners know that I love comic books, G.I. Joe, pop culture, and my wife and dogs are pretty great too. I also love learning how people get to where they're at and where they're going. All of that comes together over at the Dreamer Comics podcast, except for my family stuff. That'd be really weird. Omar Spahi interviews someone from the comic industry every episode, and they break down the journey that creator took to get from reading comics to creating them. Comic luminaries like Jim Valentino, Ross Ritchie, Kyle Higgins, and so many more can be found at DreamerComicsPodcast.com or find them anywhere you get your podcasts. Everyone has a dream. Learn how to make yours a reality. All right, well, we're going to stop talking about 40-year-old TV shows because these kids are looking at me like, last time you talked about cassette tapes and Don Johnson, and now we're talking about Chips and Poncherella.
Yeah.
So, kids, let's get into
G.I.
G.I.
Joe!
Joe!
Real American
What?
hero. Find save the day.
Yes! You guys watched Long Live Rock and Roll Part 1 with us. What did you think of the episode? Santi, we're going to start with you.
It was like a lot of rock and roll. Like, it was like kind of fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything went by super quickly.
It goes by fast when you're like also talking over in a room with 6 people too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the characters?
Some were pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So who wasn't cool? Who did you not like? It's okay to say Metalhead. He's my least favorite,
Yeah.
and I know there's some Metalhead fans out there. Do you have a Metalhead, Troy?
I do have a metalhead.
Bang!
Yes.
Bang! I hate it.
Yep.
I hate it. Although there was a moment on this show, and it might have been in the last episode, where he does inadvertently say "bang," and in my head I went, "Well, his missile should fire because it's voice activated," and it does.
Oh.
Like they didn't forget that part because it's a voice activated weapon, and I'm like, "Oh, that was a mistake." Oh no, then it fired.
There they go.
Yeah, then it went. So, was there anyone that you didn't like?
I didn't like him. I didn't really like the guy in the red suit that was on the Joe team.
The guy in the red suit.
Was that Hawk?
Hawk?
Maybe?
Yeah, the guy who was upset about
loud
who was
music?
upset about the loud music. Yeah, that was Hawk. He was being a buzzkill.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. I would be upset about that too.
And-
Lily Bella, what about you? What was your favorite part of that episode?
I don't know. I didn't really have a favorite part.
Did you like all the because they were flying a lot in the helicopters and stuff? Was that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, would you prefer a helicopter as a backpack or a full real helicopter, like a Dragonfly?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
I feel like the helicopter's a backpack, guys, by the way, is not very safe.
No.
It's if you thought I feel okay, so Cobra had the Fang. You guys know what the Fang copter is?
Yeah.
Jasmine, do you know what the Fang is? Cobra's helicopter? It's an open air helicopter, right? So
Right.
the guy sits in the cockpit and there's no protection between him and those blades. And G.I. Joe looked at that and said, "Hold on, I can do one better."
Right.
Yeah. And then they came up with these backpack helicopters, which are even more dangerous than the
Right.
the Fang. So, yeah, there you go. Nadia, what about you?
I thought it was a little goofy when rock and roll runs into the ladies.
Oh, the cold
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very good. Now, what did you guys think of Billy, the guitar player? Jasmine, did you like the guitar guy?
He was a little rocky
Yeah.
and rock and roll.
Did you like his look, though?
Not really. He was like a wild boy, wild tiger.
Did you?
Oh,
He looked a little like a Dreadnought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he would fit in with the Dreadnoughts.
And Road Pig was in this episode.
Road Pig was in this episode because he's a Sonic fighter, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, he's on one of the sub teams. Yeah.
Okay.
This is all sub team stuff. Like it's crazy.
He needs to go to the hair salon to get his hair better.
He does need to get his hair did.
Yeah, it's a little on the sloppy side.
It's very sloppy. He also needs to check that outfit because it's just too much going on.
He has too many knots in his hair.
He really does. He
Way
really
too
does.
many.
Did you guys like the voice acting?
Kind of.
Yeah. Any favorites? Anything? Any standouts? Like Cobra Commander or Rock and Roll? Because Rock and Roll, I like that they used the guy named Rock and Roll on a show about rock and roll.
Yeah, I thought this episode was going to be about rock
I
and
know,
roll.
right? But at least he's the main character.
Right.
At least it's not Long Live Rock and Roll and the main character's Grunt.
Oh.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Grunt.
Nope.
Nope. So before we start this episode of part 2, what do you guys want to see out of this episode? Jasmine, what do you want to see happen?
I don't know. I want to see cool stuff, not like rock and roll stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool stuff. Santi, what about you?
Like they're gonna save him, or they're just gonna leave him.
I hope they leave him. That'd be an amazing way to end an episode. They're like, guys, we couldn't get the hostage. We're good.
Yes.
We stopped Cobra, but Billy, he gone.
There'll be another rock and roll star.
Yeah. There's always
They're
another one around the
recyclable.
corner. Absolutely.
Yes.
We're just gonna find a karaoke lookalike.
Exactly.
Lily Bella, what about you?
I don't know what I want to see, but I do know what I don't want to see.
What don't you want to see? So you don't want rock and roll music?
No, I don't.
Well, I'm sorry. We're going to disappoint you because there's a lot of rock and roll in this one because the Cobra's plans come to fruition and their machine goes live. Nadia, what about you?
I want to see rock and roll pop out some serious machine gunning, like
Okay.
set off some
Yeah.
bullet.
That's amazing. Troy, what do you want to see on this episode?
That's an excellent question, Joe. I would like to see them get a new rock and roller. I don't know. I would like to see bigger planes and bigger, like,
Yeah, it's all
something more
glider.
than a-
It's all tiny
Yes.
glider action.
Yes.
They weren't trying to sell a major toy on this.
No,
This was all
definitely
about the
not.
small toys. This was sub teams and
Yes.
small toys. They're trying to get that that checkout dollar. You know,
Right.
that mom, I got $3.99 left to spend here. Let me quick get a glider. Let me get a this. Let me get a that. Not, hey mom, it's my birthday. Can I get a tank?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, that's for us. That's what it was. I was birthdays and Christmases and things like that. Those were the big toys. Those were the boxes.
Right.
Every time you went to the mall, you would ask for a carded one, or like the pack rats. That were on the bubble cards. Bubble cards for day-to-day asks. Which were sometimes good.
Yes.
Sometimes mom would come through, absolutely, for real. Or if you saved just your allowance. But then anything in a box, that was a birthday.
Absolutely.
That was a birthday.
Birthday
That
or
was a
Christmas.
Christmas. Yep. Absolutely.
Yes.
Of course, if you ask your mom if you can have a tank, then she would be tricking you. Then you'd spoil your birthday present.
Yeah, or you gotta ask Santa, because Santa would bring me a ton of G.I. Joe stuff. Absolutely, I would always get a ton of G.I. Joe stuff from Santa. Yeah, and they would and it was like Santa knew someone at Hasbro to get exactly what I wanted. It was amazing.
And since we're talking about toys and getting stuff, I just really want to thank my mom for giving me all the G.I. Joes and my dad for financing them. I just love, like, my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas last year, and I told her I wanted these DVD sets. She's like, you're 40 years old. I was like, I don't care. So the running joke is, like, whenever anybody asks me, like, what do you want? I was like, well, I want something that starts with G.I. and ends in Joe.
That is awesome. And you know what? I want to thank my mom and dad too, and all our moms and dads. I think everyone listening. No, I don't think any of us would be fans of this stuff without our moms or dads or
Yes.
both, because they supported it. Unless you were out there working like child slave labor, earning your own wages when you were 8.
Yeah.
None of this would be possible without them. So that's awesome. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Mom. And we definitely got our money's worth. I mean,
Oh.
30-year-old
Yeah,
toys
are
we're
you
still
kidding
playing
me?
with.
Are you kidding me? It's absolutely amazing. So, so before we start the show, I want to thank everyone for listening, and I want to ask everyone to go online and follow me on Instagram at Joe and Joe Pod, and Twitter and Facebook, all that stuff. Find me on Facebook, email, Gmail, etc. Remember to go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/JoeOnJoePod, and see how you can help support the show. All right, kids. You guys ready for part 2?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Here we go. So like all good two-parters, we start with a little bit of an episode recap.
Right. So
Right.
it looks like the same cold open.
It is the same cold open. And you want to know how I know that? Because every time I watched this in prep for the show, I thought, did I hit the wrong button?
Yes.
Did I?
And why would they reshoot a new open?
Why would they spend any money on that?
Yes.
Yeah. I literally restarted it 3 times. Kept thinking that I kept hitting the wrong one. But we do. We get a little flashback here. We see Billy get kidnapped by the Cobras. And no offense if you're out there listening, but the voiceover guy that they had do the recap here, the guy that goes, convinced that he was working for the U.S. government, They could not have found a worse voice. It is so flat and so uninteresting. Right? Do you know what I'm saying, Troy?
Yeah, he needs some passion.
It's really like a dopey dude sleeping somewhere. I don't know what was going on there.
It could have been the editor.
It had to be.
The offline editor.
Right.
Putting it together as scratch audio. And they're like, it's fine, leave it.
Yeah, and I think that's the same voice, if memory serves, that's the same voice they used on the other multi-parters, in the DIC era. On the Sunbow stuff, they used, I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who did the real G.I. Joe intro. They got him to record him, and it was great.
Right.
And it was awesome, and it was full of energy, and it got you excited for this. These intros are like, hey, everybody, there was a guy named Billy, and he got kidnapped, and, they're going to fight G.I. Joe, I mean Cobra. No, by the way, Jasmine, that snore was for you. I hear, Jasmine, that you're a bit of a snorer when you like to nap. Is this true? Is this true, guys? Jasmine snores?
Jasmine, do you snore when you sleep?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with snoring,
Nothing wrong with snoring. Toiletea, what do you think?
Joe snores louder than anyone you've ever heard.
I've had neighbors complain about the sound of my snoring. We're going to put that on record, everybody.
Oh, wow. All the way to the neighbors.
Yeah, all the way to the neighbors.
Oh dear.
Oh, dear, indeed. That's one way to put it. So here we go. Long Live Rock and Roll Part 2, written by Doug Booth. Doug Booth, by the way, wrote the Operation Dragonfire.
Oh,
Yeah, one of the good
Right.
one of the good DIC episodes. Dragonfire holds up pretty well.
let's deal with Scoop.
Yes, yeah, the
Okay.
intro of Scoop.
Right. So here's a funny story. When I was in college and I was doing all my G.I. Joes, I was talking to one of my professors, and he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, have you seen my G.I. Joe action figure? And I thought he was just teasing me.
That guy's your professor?
No. But he showed me Scoop and package, and I was like, oh, where'd you get this from? He's like, well, I worked with Michael Leonard. And
Awesome.
Yes.
The Scoop's name was Leonard Michaels, named after Michael Leonard.
And he told me the story, and I was like, that's not true. They don't do that. I didn't believe him. And
So true.
And it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's very cool.
That's amazing. Did you ever have a chance to meet Michael
I
Leonard?
did not meet him. But you're from Chicago.
I am.
So
And
that's where he was from.
Yes. I don't have a personal recollection of him.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were doing the Scoop stuff, I did try to find him. I don't think he's online, like in the social media sense.
Right.
Because I believe he's long retired now.
Yes.
For a good number of years. But yes, that's amazing. So
Yes.
your guy worked with Michael Leonard.
Yes, he was his editor.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
he
cool.
taught me how to edit.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's lineage. That's
Yeah.
G.I. Joe lineage. So Cobra, they've got their sound machine working, and basically, Billy, as long as Billy keeps playing, the sound waves are going to keep emanating from this machine. So Cobra had to get an expert guitar player, and we're going to see here that they're going to aim those sonic waves at the incoming helicopter, the battlecopters.
Yeah, on the backpacks.
Yeah.
Now, as a tax-paying citizen, I'm glad they're destroying just these little backpacks and not dragonflies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, really,
huge helicopters
really
and
expensive
planes.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
And I love the parachutes. Everybody's got a parachute.
Everyone's got a parachute.
Yes.
Everyone's got a parachute. I want to say, and I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. There was Destro had a sonic cannon, and it was one of the miniseries. Yeah, he had a soundwave cannon. It was in the mouth of the Cobra. I can't remember. I'm sorry that I'm blanking on exactly what, but you guys listening know what it was, because it was in the mouth of the Cobra head, and when they defeated it at the end, it eventually caved in and attacked the base and destroyed the base. It was like the second miniseries maybe.
I faintly remember.
Yeah,
this.
and it was like a canon thing, and it did the exact same thing here.
The charts, this is the line that leads past
They
Cobra
reused a
Sonic
lot of ideas.
headquarters.
Let's be honest, but I want to say, like, you guys already stopped something like this. Like, this is interesting. So we got Rock and Roll and Psych Out and Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, by the way, a trained engineer. They're riding on a subway beneath the Enterprise City, and they're going to use their Sonic Fighters backpacks to counter the frequencies of Billy's rock and roll playing.
Come on,
Oh,
psych
good for
out.
them.
Yeah.
Psych yourself out.
And what's great is that when they get into doing it, they have to match Billy's playing. They are essentially playing Guitar Hero.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
All we gotta
this
do
is
play along.
right here. See it?
And our supersonic fighter packs are going to automatically switch what we're playing to the exact opposite.
That is
And cancel out
Noise
Cobra's
cancellation.
noise cancellation via the Guitar Hero.
That's true.
It is totally Guitar Hero Rock Band, that whole thing. That's what's going on in this episode. This is ahead of its time. All they need is the video screen of telling them what notes to be.
My favorite Billy Blaster song.
Now it's Psych Out luckily knows all the jams, so as long as Billy doesn't change it. Now Billy, because we want to like him, he still thinks he's working for the government.
Right.
You know, so that's a good thing.
$10 billion. Joes, your orders are to pull back. The mayor
Now,
wants to
Santi,
pay up, which means our attack on
when you were
Cobra
playing with Santi, when you were playing with some of these toys,
pull back immediately.
He's into the show.
I know you're so into the show. When you play with some of the toys, do you guys do some of like the big scale Cobra plots? Like Cobra's gonna like have a weather dominator or anything like that? Do you guys ever play like that?
I haven't.
You haven't? Lily Bella, what about you?
What was the question again?
When you guys play with the toys, does Cobra have these big plots? Like they're going to take over like the pool, or they're going to take over this part of the lawn? Or is it more of just like we're going to attack the Joes?
Yeah. So, like, Cobra would start off plot. Like, first, we get all our weapons locked and loaded. Then we attack the Joes at headquarters and take over, take over the headquarters and stuff.
That's really cool. Once the Joes take over the headquarters, what do? Do they hang out there? Do they move in? Do they like reupholster the place? Do they like do their own design work on it, or do they just leave it as is?
The Cobras?
Yeah.
They don't. Well, they never take over the headquarters.
Oh.
I mean, like, the closest they've got is inside the jail.
Oh, yeah. For me, whenever we used to play, if Cobra took over the Joe base, the first thing would come down would be the American flag.
Yep. Take the flag down.
The flag always came down, and it was like they were redecorating. They were like, we're in. That was the sign. Or was there a flag on the transport, the air sea
the technical battle platform?
Yeah, was there a flag on there?
I believe.
I don't know that
I
these.
don't think there was.
They would take that over a lot too, and then it would just be destroyed.
Yes.
I feel like G.I. Joe would just be like, "We'll just build a new one."
Yep.
You know, this thing's temporary anyway. You go ahead and take it over.
A lot of our play scenarios turn into like rescue missions.
Yes,
So
that's
we
good.
we always like to do that. We have a tomahawk. Love using the tomahawk is like to go get the injured Joe.
Tomahawk was my favorite large scale. The Tomahawk and the whale.
Yes.
But as far as like, I love the Sky Striker, but like, just it was because it was like a play set in the sky.
Right.
Because it had so many action points on it. You could like with the Sky Striker, yeah, it's cool, but you know you'd fly and you'd bomb people and you'd move away. Tomahawk would like you'd bring a little mini base somewhere.
Yes.
A motorcycle in the back. We're gonna go to a commercial break with a big old train wreck. Have you guys ever ridden on a subway? We'll be right back.
Today's file card is on the Cobra Air Recon Trooper, the Night Vulture. Night Vultures are the airborne covert insertion and recon specialists of the Cobra Legions. Given no formal training, the candidates for the Night Vultures program are dropped with their gliders from transports over shark-infested waters at least 5 miles from land. Whoever makes it back is awarded the Night Vulture badge and gets to keep his personal effects of the, quote, dropouts. Quote, every badge-wearing Night Vulture knows that he can coax at least 5 miles out of his glider and that he has a will to survive. This can make them extremely efficient as recon scouts, since they can glide silently at extended ranges and be careful enough not to get caught. Their worth as covert insertion troops is in doubt, because they might be smart enough to fly in the opposite direction if the mission is too dangerous. I am totally on board with the Night Vulture, in a real way. I think he looks awesome. He's got a dark purple and black color scheme. The only thing I'd say is it's got like an orange vest, or it's either orange or red, I can't really tell. Like bright looking vest. It definitely makes him stand out as an action figure, but I think it works against him as far as being like a Night Vulture. However, he looks like he's straight out of Ninja Force. He even carries a crossbow so that he goes silent. He looks like a rejected Snake Eyes sculpt. His body is entirely original, according to our friends over at Yojo.com. And he came with one of those sweet gliders. They were pimping those gliders heavily on these episodes of the show, and I like them as a toy. In fact, Troy had one at his house when we were over there recording, and it's very cool. I mean, they really did actually glide with a figure on them, so I can't support that enough. I love it. I'm a fan of the Night Vulture. It's my first exposure to him. And Night Vulture, Air Recon Trooper, we salute you.
Santi, you've been on a subway before?
In New York City.
In New York City. Did it crash like this one? No, thank God.
Yeah.
Because this is quite the crash. It is off the rails. Like something out of Die Hard with a Vengeance, everyone.
Wow, and it's flying.
Oh, it is absolute, and it is
fire.
and it is flammable. It is the absolute. It's the '80s rules of car explosions.
Yes.
You know, like that is so flammable. It's as if a train ran on gasoline.
Yes, absolutely.
Which it doesn't.
No.
No, it doesn't.
Taking chances.
The fun thing I used to do with specifically, I used it with the battle platform a lot. But you remember those the little white. I guess they had like
snappers,
yes, and you would throw them and they would make a snap bang.
Right.
Those were the bombs.
Oh, cool.
And they would leave little scorch marks on the toys, so they look battle worn. So that's what Cobra would drop or G.I. Joe would drop, and it would literally pop, leave little rocks all over my bedroom, of course. But I deal with that, clean that up.
Right.
Yeah, and you had little mini pops, little bombs. Yeah.
Wow, get your own sound effects.
Yeah. Oh, sound effects, everything. I could only do it when like no one else was at home because my mom would hear it. She'd be like, "What's going on up there?"
That sounds like.
Yeah.
I think my mom would put a stop to that too.
Oh yeah, she was never really happy about it. And I'm like, it's not flammable. It's just it's authentic action.
It's all very well that
So
you're
now we've
getting
got,
cash, Commander, but does that mean
The
we don't
mayor
get
has
to
agreed to pay Cobra $10 billion, kids.
Oh wow, that's
Nadia, is that a lot of money?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money today, let alone like 1991.
And especially coming from the city.
Yeah, from the city.
Yes.
The city. The U.S. government would be like $10 billion's a lot. The city of Enterprise City, that's a lot of money.
Are no fun.
And Metalhead's very, very, very upset that they don't let him play guitar. Because all Metalhead wants to do, he's a rock and roll guy. That's all he wants to do is be in a band. Those are the Crimson Guard Elite. And they're completely oblivious to the fact that the G.I. Joes are skulking and with their guitars ready to rock and roll. Literally with rock and roll and Psych Out. And, there's Snake Eyes. See? I mean, Snake Eyes is great.
Yes.
Like, he's just great. Even though he looks like a serial killer mountaineer is what he looks like on the show. Like he looks like between the dog mask makes him look like Jason from the Friday the 13th movies, and then the mountain goggles. Yeah, Snake Eyes is gonna kill somebody.
You gotta stop, Cobra. Wow, look at this.
Oh, hey, you guys see that? That's Scarlet.
Yes.
One of your favorites.
I mean, what is this jungle?
It's a rare
doing
appearance
in a
for her.
Yeah.
skyscraper?
And they also have a jungle inside of a skyscraper. That's some interesting topiary choices, right?
Right, and then we saw in the previous episode there's a puma or some kind of big cat.
There's a big cat in there. There is for real.
Almost like a Black Panther.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Black Panther movie?
No.
Oh, it's pretty great. You did? Did you like it? It's pretty great.
Warthog hunt to get the adrenaline flowing.
So I feel like they're chasing a warthog. I feel like it's what the Dreadnought who had the warthog. It was Naugahyde.
Naugahyde.
I feel like that's Naugahyde's warthog.
Yes.
He's not on this episode, but they're torturing Naugahyde's pet, which I don't feel is very fair.
No, it's not.
It's not very fair of
Especially
people.
with a guy named Road Pig.
Yeah. And I always found it weird that Naugahyde was the Cobra poacher, and yet he carried a pet pig.
Yes.
I'm like, are you going to kill that pig? Are you going to eat that pig? Because that's what your poacher does. That's a poacher hunts animals. He's not the Cobra like animal wrangler.
And it's not
He's
like-
the poacher.
It's not like the pig helps him track down other animals.
No.
either.
Oh, and here's a giant. Of course, we're going to get a giant snake. But yeah, that's totally Naugahyde's pig.
Help me grab a hold of them, Range 5.
Did you ever play the Nintendo G.I. Joe games?
I have not.
Like Atlantis Factor, and then the one I believe was just called G.I. Joe. They're great.
No,
They're great.
The girls have watched G.I. Joe Atlantis Factor that G.I. Joe Berg
From
created.
G.I. Joe Berg, our friends at G.I. Joe Berg. Yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty great.
The kids loved that.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh, it's awesome. Those guys do such a great job over there. Shout out to our friends at G.I. Joe Berg. My boy Cujo. We're going to get Cujo on soon.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he's out of Long Beach, and
Yes,
and
another
we
soap
meet up.
dog
Yeah,
guy.
we meet up at cons. What a great guy. The Atlantis Factor video game is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I think because they give you the variety of characters to play from. I liked the game that came out with the movie, the Rise of Cobra game. That was actually not bad. It wasn't the greatest gameplay, but there was a good variety of G.I. Joes to choose from. They didn't do very wildly different things in the game, but it was pretty well done for the only G.I. Joe game we have to play with.
Dial will
Now we get Crocmaster's Crocodile, guys.
I know. It's like, where's Crocmaster?
Yeah,
You need-
Crocmaster's missing, Naugahide's missing. We're going to go to commercial with a couple animals attacking.
Hey, listeners, if you're anything like me, all apologies to your family. I'm just kidding. It's likely that they made you this way. No, I'm talking about that I'm always looking for more G.I. Joe content, and I think I found it. Stop what you're doing. Okay, don't stop listening to this podcast. Can't you multitask? And go to Facebook/Special Mission Force. Brian Wilkins is curating all kinds of wonderful, nostalgic G.I. Joe content, including new pics from his fantastic Instagram page at Special Mission Force. On his Instagram, he's taking photos of Joes out in the wild, in the real world, doing stuff. For me, the two things that stand out the most are his variety of characters that he takes pictures of and like the depth of field in these pictures. It's just a wonderful job of directing focus for you. I think you really will enjoy his work. So like him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and get ready for his website, specialmissionforce.com. He's a name to watch in the G.I. Joe game, so get on board now. Now back to the show.
All right. Well, listen, it's that time of show where I like to ask my guests, who are amazing and awesome, Jasmine, if you could be a member of the G.I. Joe team or Cobra team, who would you be and what would your name be? Do you have any? Do you know yet?
My code name would be White Wolf.
White Wolf? I love it. And what would the White Wolf do?
My real name would be Doctor.
Doctor? Would you?
Doctor. That's funny.
Would you be a doctor? A medical assistant? Yeah? That's so great because we need more medical assistants. We don't have a lot of people that do that. Would you work with Doc and Lifeline maybe? And you'd be a G.I. Joe or Cobra? G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe.
So Jasmine, or shall I say White Wolf, the medical assistant, welcome to the G.I. Joe team. Welcome to Joe and Joe, White Wolf. Let's give her a hand.
All right.
That's so awesome. I love it. Let's see, Lily Bella. If you could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, who would you be?
Obviously, I would be on the Joe team.
You'd be a Joe. Got it.
And
What would you do?
I would be a Navy SEAL.
You'd be a Navy SEAL. Oh, I love it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But Billy's nowhere to be found.
And what would your name be?
Bella Beast.
Bella Beast. That is awesome.
And I would be like a kooky.
You'd be
Like-
kooky?
Yeah, like a really crazy Navy SEAL doing a bunch of stunts.
Yes. Yes.
And everyone would fear me. All the Cobras would fear me. Maybe some of the Joes too.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Joes would.
For my fearless looks.
Amazing.
And
Would you look like you could have been a Dreadnought, but you decided to be a good guy?
no.
No?
I would look kind of like, I'm gonna get you.
I love that.
Or it can be like, I got you when I want you, and now I'm gonna eat you.
Well, listen, Bella Beast, welcome to the Joe on Joe team. Let's give her a big hand, everybody. That's awesome. Bella Beast, the Navy SEAL that scares even her own teammates. That's so cool. All right, Troy, it's your turn. If you could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, what would you be and what would your code name be?
Okay, well, I hope not to disappoint anyone, but I would be one Cobra.
Oh, I love it. I love when people go Cobra.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to be a bad guy because when we play G.I. Joes, I'm the Cobra.
Awesome.
And my job is to make sure the girls have somebody to destroy and win and beat.
Okay.
So it's only fitting that I stay on Cobra.
Oh my God. And what would your name be?
Well, I haven't thought of a name, so maybe you can help me figure that out.
Oh, I just thought of your name.
Okay.
Your name's Target Practice.
Target Practice. Target Viper.
Your name done be Target Practice, Troy. That's exactly what your name is.
I know what my specialty would be.
Okay.
It would be like television production and post-production.
Okay.
So I would be making the videos for Cold Slither.
Yes.
And for Billy in this episode.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What's your idea, Jasmine?
Your name can be TV.
TV Viper. TV Viper.
TV Viper. He's a TV. You're an offshoot of the Televipers.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were a Televiper.
Right.
But they promoted you to be the audiovisual guy, and your name's Target Practice.
And
because you, I got it. You set up the holographic target practices for training sessions. That's what training schedules and stuff.
Yes.
For Cobra.
All right.
That's what you do.
We'll roll with it.
Yeah. And you constantly provide targets for G.I. Joe to destroy.
Yep.
You do fake targets.
Yes.
So like you set up elaborate simulations where they're like, all right, we need to hit that base, and they get there and it's empty. It's
Right.
not a real. You know what I mean?
And the beautiful thing about being setting up target practice for Cobras is I never need to replace them because they never shoot anything.
They never shoot anything.
They never hit anything.
You came in and you saved Cobra money on their budget.
Right.
That's exactly what you did. That's awesome. Well, listen, target practice. Welcome to the Joe and Joe team, everybody. Let's give target practice a big hand.
I mean Cobra.
Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome, the Joe and Joe Cobra team.
Yes.
Welcome to Cobra Target Practice. Yay! And while we're welcoming all our new members of the Joe and Joe team, G.I. Joe is finally bringing this sound experiment to its knees. The everything's quaking to the foundation, and the extensive enterprises building is being destroyed because Billy and Rock and Roll are playing the guitars on those battle copters, and they're going to counter the signals.
That's pretty amazing that they can fly a helicopter and play a guitar at the same time.
Yeah, even though it's got handheld controls.
Exactly.
Yeah, like there's a lot going on here. It must have autopilot. There must be an autopilot. Otherwise, they would constantly be killing themselves.
Yes.
Constantly.
Heaven forbid that they actually record something first.
Yeah.
And
Here we go.
play it live.
Yeah, and that's what really ultimately for me what's disappointing about this episode is we could have had a great Cold Slither song or something along those lines. It didn't have to be Cold Slither, but something really recognizable, and it's just like this generic guitar riff. You know, it sounds like the generic podcast music that you can get at freeware sites to use as beds for your podcast.
It probably is where it came from.
That's what it sounds like. Metalhead, not heavy metal. Metalhead, his guitar just lit on fire, which is pretty rock and roll, quite frankly. And they're just playing this Steve Vai kind of, which is Steve Vai's great. It's a great guitar riff. Don't get me wrong, but it's not catchy like a Cold Slither.
Right? No, Cold Slither.
And the extensive enterprise building is collapsing. There's no mention of Tomax and Zaymot throughout this episode, but and the animals escape though. That's really cool.
That's good. Everyone that gets out alive.
Yeah, everyone. All kinds of Vipers come running out of the building. All the G.I. Joes, all the professors, all the scientists, all the animals. The animals. It's their parachute moment.
Yes, they're
everyone,
safe.
Yeah, everyone gets a parachute, and this building. It's a great explosion. It's one of the better explosions. I think the Sunbow one had the best explosions, but it's a pretty good explosion. And money is flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I found funny. He's pedaling so fast, the money's on.
Yeah, it's the $10 billion that they got from the city.
Exactly.
Long live rock and roll.
Yeah, and finally, Hawk finally likes what they did because everyone's getting the city's money.
Yes.
Which is a weird message to send. Like, they're not going to give that back to the city.
Yeah, long live rock and roll.
Yeah, he's very excited. But rock and roll saved the day.
Yeah.
Kids, do you think music can save the day?
Yeah.
Yeah?
In some cases.
Well, Santi, what's your favorite kind of music?
I like pop music.
Yeah? Who's your one favorite pop star?
I like Toby Mac.
Toby Mac? That's awesome. What about you, Lily Bella?
Kind of like dancey music.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hip-hop.
Hip hop's great. Do you like to dance?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nadia, what about you? When you're doing judo, do you have a soundtrack? Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Oh, you know what? On one of our soccer meets, there is a fair going on, And like when our coach was telling us what to do, like there's this like background music that just went awesome with it.
Yeah.
There's like background music, and it was like awesome.
It's so much fun, right?
Yeah.
It just it livens everything up. Jasmine, what about you? What kind of music do you love? Do you like listen to like Disney music?
Some type of Disney music. And I like Megan Selena's music.
Oh, that's amazing. What kind of music does she do?
The pop music.
Is it pop? That's pretty great. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Troy, what about you? What kind of music do you like?
I'm pretty diverse.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like the rock. Sometimes I just want to be like rock music. Sometimes
Yeah.
I like EMD house music. I like dance music.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
All
a
kinds.
rock and roll guy. I'm like a Springsteen kind of guy, Rolling Stones, like that kind of genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes much to my wife's chagrin. But anyway, listen, kids, you guys are amazing. Can I get a big round of applause for yourselves? I want to give a big thanks to Jasmine and Santi, Lilybella, Nadia, and Troy. You guys are an amazing panel. Is there anything you want to say to the listeners at home? Anything? Yeah.
Never stop believing in G.I. Joe!
Oh my God, I think that's so great. Troy, you've done a wonderful job with these kids.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Oh, you have one? What is it, Jasmine?
Make sure to get a lot of G.I. Joe!
That's so true. You're going to work for Hasbro one day. Well, I think you guys are really awesome. Really. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.